the sovereign island city-state emerged in South Asia. Singapore gained self-governance in 1959 and in 1963 became part of the new Federation of Malaysia, alongside Malaysia, Borneo and Sarawak. The population of Singapore is 9.05 million people. Singapore is one of the most advanced countries in the world. Between March 2023 and March 2024, the export of Singapore have decreased from 45.2 million in Singaporean dollars to 44.2 million in Singaporean dollars, while imports increased with a balance 39 million in Singaporean dollars. Today, the Singapore economy is one of the most stable in the world, with no foreign debt, high government revenue, and a consistently positive surplus. Singapore's largest industry contributing to annual GDP growth of 1% to 3%.
I will be talking about the national income of Singapore based on the graph that I made here. National income is the sum total of the value of all the goods and services manufactured by the residents of the country in a year. There are three approaches to go to review the national income in Singapore. The three approach is income approach, expenditure approach, and product or output approach. So I will review the Singapore's economy using product or output approach. As you can see here, the line chart of Singapore GDP from year 2009 to 2014, the graph show a continuously increase. But the end year of 2015, GDP of Singapore experienced a slightly decrease from a rate of 3.94% to 2.98%. At the year 2016, GDP Singapore continued to increase until 2018. After 2018, the GDP of Singapore experienced a fall starting on 2019 and drastically decreased at the year 2020 with the rate of negative 3.9%. This is caused by the pandemic of coronavirus that hit the world at that time. In 2020, Singapore GDP fell 7.2% in the first quarter of the year, before plugging 30.4% in the second term and 5.6% in the third. After the pandemic, in the year of 2021, Singapore GDP remained increased until 2023. Because of the second quarter 2023, the Singapore GDP is projected to grow by 0.7% compared to the same quarter the previous year. Singapore is recovering from the worst recession in its history that occurred during the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020.
The COVID-19 epidemic caused severe worldwide economic disruptions in 2020. Singapore was not spared, with the economy experiencing its worst full-year recession since independence. During the year, the economy had to deal with both demand and supply shocks, such as a decline in external demand for goods and services produced in Singapore due to travel restrictions worldwide and the country's implementation of circuit breaker from April to June 2020. Consequently, the economic performance, including their recovery post-circuit breaker, was variegated. For example, the proxy indicators for external demand had either surpassed or were close to pre-pandemic levels by the fourth quarter of 2020, and passenger and tourist arrivals remained significantly lower than pre-pandemic levels as at end 2020. For 2021, the Singapore economy expanded by 7.6%. The manufacturing and finance and insurance sector were the top contributors to GDP growth for the year. All sectors contributed positively to GDP growth except for administrative and support services sector. The government implemented a package of measures to boost its property market and opened a new tab, including raising stamp duties and tightening loan limits. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong said Singapore's economy is recovering steadily and that the government sees a need to start raising sales tax. The government has flagged a plan to raise the goods and services tax by 2 percentage points to 9% between 2022 and 2025.
Fiscal policy is the action taken by the government. Its primary focus on long-term economic expansion. The goal of government spending is to provide Singaporeans with goods and services. During COVID-19, the government has developed fiscal capacity. They made reserve at various points. To begin, the unity budget value 6.4 billion, followed by 48.5 billion on supplementary resilient budget, the solidarity budget worth 5.1 billion and 30 billion on fortitude budget. The fourth budget will primarily concern with cash payout to individuals and households, subsidizing workers' wages, and business tax relief. The budget will focus on managing the economic impact of COVID-19, especially in terms of maintaining business continuity. It also had monetary policy that made by the Money Authority of Singapore, which is MAS. It focused on maintaining the rate of appreciation of the Singapore dollar nominal effective exchange rate, which is NER, exchange rate between the Singapore dollar and currency of its major trading partners. Based on the MAS monetary policy statement on April 2024, the weight and level at which it is centre will remain unchanged, and the SNER has continued to strengthen in the upper half of the appreciation policy plan. Besides that, it also managed the liquidity in the banking section.
In conclusion, Singapore stands as a sovereign island city-state in maritime Southeast Asia, known for its economic resilience and stability. Initially gaining self-governance in 1959, it briefly joined Malaysia in 1963 before becoming independent. Today, Singapore boasts a population of 6.05 million and is recognized as one of the world's most advanced economies. Economically, Singapore's robust fiscal policies and proactive measures during the COVID-19 pandemic, including substantial budget allocations and monetary policy adjustments by the Monetary Authority of Singapore, were pivotal in managing the crisis. Despite facing its worst recession in history in 2020, with a GDP contraction of minus 5.6%, Singapore rebounded strongly in 2021 with a growth rate of 7.6% led by key sectors like manufacturing and finance. Looking forward, Singapore continues to navigate challenges such as global economic fluctuations and remains committed to sustaining economic growth through strategic fiscal planning and prudent financial management. With a solid foundation of high government revenue, no foreign debt, and consistent budget surpluses, Singapore is poised to maintain its status as a beacon of economic stability and prosperity in the region.